Hey guys, welcome to the Hollywood Dreams podcast. This is your host Santi Trix, along my fellow host David Malikant. Hey Dave, how are you?
What's up, Santi? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. We got a one hell of a guest today. The man Carlos Cruz himself, from the band Stonebreed. Hey Carlos, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Good to be here, man.
Awesome
Uh,
to have you,
uh,
Carlos.
awesome to have you. Yeah, how's the start of the year treating you?
Fabulous. Had a great show with my band at the Whiskey for my birthday was this month. My wife's birthday is today.
Oh,
I'm gonna
nice,
get together with some friends and family and stuff. And the beginning of the year is going excellent for me, brother.
Well,
awesome. Do
thank
you
you.
have do you
Well,
have
thank
like
you
a
for
party
taking the
planned?
time out.
Well, I had a party at the Whiskey A Go Go for my birthday last Thursday night. We were headlining. We had 7 opening bands, so that was kind of fun. And then tonight I'm just going to go with my family and my kids, and we're all going to take my wife out to a nice family dinner. So that's what our plans are for the night.
Very
Nice,
cool.
awesome, very cool. Yeah. So I didn't catch that show you played in the whiskey. Wh- who opened for you guys?
Oh wow, let me see here for a minute. We were headlining. We had 7 opening bands. We had a band called Alter Ego from Connecticut. We had a band called Weapon of Pride from Phoenix. Blackwater Lake from Tucson. We had a band called Surge, really good young female fronted heavy rock band from Uvalde, Texas called Surge. We had Led Zeppelin Rush combination tribute. They were called Led Barchetta. Had another band
Mm,
called Jukebox Junkies, and we had a Metallica tribute that night,
nice.
Anesthesia. So we had a quite a mixture of different talent on that night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right? It's always nice to have original bands as well. I always like that when venues support new bands
Yeah,
and
yeah.
original
Most of the bands
bands.
were we had two tribute bands, but the rest of them were all originals on that night.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So, what's new in the Stone Reed camp? Are you guys recording any new music?
Yeah, we recently released 2 singles, one called Devil's Child and one called
Yeah,
Red,
I heard
White, and
that.
Blue, and they're mixed by legendary producer Max Norman, who, if you're not familiar with Max, he's done all the early Ozzy albums, with Randy Rhoads and all that on it. He's done a lot of the Megadeth albums. Just this guy's been around forever. Max Norman,
Yeah,
he's a phenomenal producer, mixer, and all that. So he did the 2 singles for us, and now he's agreed to do the whole album for us. So
Oh,
we are in the process of basically recording. We're doing drum tracks for like 5 songs this month. Um, and then we'll start tracking everything else. So that's kind of what we're working on. We got some new tunes called "Into Your Flames." We got one called I can't even remember now. "Good Times." We got another one called "Sweet Little Mistake," "Smile," "All Night Long." So these are some of the titles that of the songs that we're recording right now. And we're not sure exactly when it'll be done, but that's what we're working on. We're working on a whole full length album right now.
nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the singles, the Devil's Child and Red, White, and Blue. Those are really good. I get sort of a rat vibe from Devil's Child.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's funny you say that. I'm pretty good friends with the drummer from Rat, but I don't know if his music, brushed off on me inspirationally. But that's funny you say that because I'm good friends with Blotzer from Rat. Maybe, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it brushed off on me, his influence or something.
I mean, sure. Yeah. One hell of a band as well. So, awesome, man. And so that would be your first album since 2017, right?
Yeah, we the original one that 17, 18, 19, 20. I don't know. I'm not even sure when the first album came out. It's the self-titled album, Stonebreed, and then we followed it up with Heart of Stone, so in 1821. Heart of Stone might have been our second one. That might have been 2017. I think we did our first one way earlier than that. But we have two actual full-length CDs out: the self-titled Stonebreed, and then we have Heart of Stone, and then
Hmm.
we have one, two, three, five singles released since then.
Nice,
Yeah, the
nice,
singles
interesting.
go back to besides Devil's Child and Red, White, and Blue. We released a song about the whiskey at Go Go that we wrote called "The Whiskey," and we did a song called "Dirty Little Mind,"
Oh
and
yeah,
we did a song called "One More Day," more of a ballad type of song. So yeah, two
interesting,
albums, five
interesting.
singles, and we're working on a brand new album now.
Awesome. Interesting video on that Their Little Mind. I checked it out on YouTube before our meeting.
Oh yeah, that's you mean the exercise video?
Yeah.
Well, hey, it
Well, I
works.
mean,
People
yeah,
like the video, man.
yeah. I mean, sex sells, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it always will.
Yeah. Now, all right. So I hear you got some upcoming shows, the whiskey and particularly with Roxy Blue coming up.
Yeah, let's see here. We have a show coming up in February. It's going to be in Universal City, California, right there next to Universal Studios. It's going to be at the Universal Barn Grill.
Hmm.
We're headlining a show there. We got like 4 or 5 opening bands, and then on April 12th, we're playing with the whiskey at the Whiskey with Roxy Blues headlining, and then we have some friends of ours, Steel Cities, on that show as well.
Oh yeah, with
And
Roy Kathy from Cold Sweat, right? Still CD.
is he in Steel City? I know Jason
I
and I
think
know
so.
Mike, but I didn't know Roy was the singer in Steel City. I didn't know that.
I
That's
think
news to
so.
me. If that's Roy, yeah, I know he's in the fifth, but I'm not sure if he's singing in Steel City. But yeah, that's going to be April 12th at the Roxy, and then we have another headlining show at the whiskey on May 24th, and same thing. We got like 7 opening bands that are already signed on to play with us there, and then um, May we're taking off and we're going and doing at the end of May on Memorial Day weekend. We're gonna start. Well, we're gonna start the tour at the whiskey that 524 on May 24th, and then the next day we're gonna drive all the way to San Antonio, and we're gonna start a tour. Um, in San Antonio, we're playing at the 8th annual Memorial Day Metal Fest that they do every year down there, and it's like 3 days long. It's a big festival with a bunch of metal bands, and we're playing on Friday night, and then we're gonna head out the next day and start the tour. We're going up through Austin and Dallas and over through Little Rock and all the way down through Florida and up through Virginia and back across. And then when we get home, we have a show on July 23rd. We're playing with Y&T at the
Oh,
Canyon
nice.
Club out here. So yeah, it'll be a fun show, man. Y&T, we played with them a couple of times, and Dave's just a monster guitar player singer. So it's
Yeah.
always fun playing with those guys, man.
Yeah, I mean, hell of a show. And 7 opening acts. I mean, that's a big show.
Yeah, I mean, well, at the whiskey, that's what they do. The bands they start them at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Everyone gets like a 30-minute set. They run 7, 8 bands in one night, and it's just a big party all the time. It's fun, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, all right, so tell us a little bit about how you got the band started.
Well, obviously I've been a musician all my life, and I was born in Santa Monica, and I always wanted to move back to California. And I lived in Florida, and I played in bands there and all this, everything. But when I decided to come back to California, I was like, I'm gonna as soon as I get back there, I'm gonna restart a band because I had a handful of music of my own. I put a couple of albums out in a previous band, and I had some of my own music. So as soon as I got here, I just started putting ads on Craigslist.
Hmm.
lead singer, looking for band members, looking for guitar player, looking for bass player, looking for drummer. I met one guitar player that I really jive with. We were similar age, similar music taste, and that's another really hard thing these days. I mean, when you're looking for band members, and you're looking through classified ads, and this guy says, "Oh, these are my influences." You don't recognize one band that's his influences. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I found a guy that similar music interests, similar age, similar stuff that we wanted to do, similar vision. So me and him kind of got together. Okay, now let's look for a bass player and a drummer, and that's kind of what we did. We just went through guys, and then we started, you know, checking different guys out, and then finally we found the right. At the back at that time, it was a 5-piece band, so we just kind of put the puzzle together and started playing out, and put an album out.
How did you guys end up hooking up with Max Norman?
That is my guitar player that I have in the band now, Paul Hudson. Is a friend of his, like on Facebook and stuff like that. And I guess they were talking one day, and he was like, "Hey, man, I would love to mix your music or something." And Paul's like, "Oh yeah, right. How much would that cost?" And he's like, "Oh well, right now I'm kind of in between projects, so I could do it for X amount of money." And we were like, "You're kidding me, Max Norman?" So
Wow.
yeah, so my guitar player's walk up, well, hell yeah. So then after he did a couple of songs, he liked it enough to where he's like, "Listen, man, I'd be willing to do your whole album, for a way discounted price because I like the stuff." So I was like, "Well, cool, let's do that, man." Because we've worked with some great producers in the past. Our last album was produced by Bill Matoyer, who used to be the vice president of Metal Blade Records, and I mean, he's done all like the early Wasp albums, and he liked a lot of the heavier bands, like Armored Saint bands like that, and even the heavier ones, like he's done a lot of early stuff like that. And the guy that produced our first album was really good, Andy Haler. I mean, this guy, he was a guitar player. He's a badass guitar player. He was like in Hillary Duff's album playing guitar. He's a producer. He's done all kind of stuff. He was up for a Grammy for working on a Santana album and stuff like that. So
Nice.
we've been very fortunate living, where we live at, to have access to great, producers basically, and people that
Yeah,
kind of know what's up, if you know what I mean.
yeah, it really comes out in the recordings. Me and my side to pick my son up earlier today, and we are driving back, and I was listening to your stuff, um, because we were talking about the show, and man, that's one thing that really does stand out, man. The production on that stuff is
Yeah.
very, very strong, very strong. So
Cool. Yeah, and then
I was
believe it or
kind of
not,
wondering
man,
if you
a
guys had
couple of
produced it yourself.
yeah, a couple of the songs, the singles. One of my the guitar player that I had in the band before, that he had to move, but he produced a couple of the songs, and just they were phenomenal. I mean, like Dirty Little Mind, he produced that one, and he produced One More Day, and those came out great.
Yeah, they all sound like top notch, man. Everything sounds really good.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That's what we're going for.
You guys nailed it. It's
Yeah, I
excellent.
mean, you can really tell the difference because I think a lot of bands nowadays, when they go for producing their own stuff, and sometimes it works out great, but sometimes not so much. And I think
Yeah,
that's a big that makes a huge difference nowadays. I mean, you can really tell when something's been produced by someone who knows his shit and someone who's just did it at his pace, right? And
right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
with you guys, you can really tell. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll bring up a perfect example of that that new Brett Michaels song, which I think is it's a good song. It's got a good vibe to it, but I think the production suffers a little bit on it. It doesn't
I
seem
have to agree with you on that. I've heard it a
yeah.
couple times myself, and I was like, it just the production don't sound that great on it, and
No, I was not. I mean, the production really kind of ruined it for me because I was really looking forward to the song. I figured with Brett, I mean, there's so many people that he could work with, and um, yeah, it was just I was really
he
surprised
probably
that
he probably did it himself.
yeah, maybe. I mean, even then, I would think Brett be a little bit better at it.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Well, and so you got together, you put the album out, and so what was the music landscape nowadays? Of course, it's not the same as it was 30 years ago. So, was it hard to get things moving along in this new musical landscape when you guys started?
Not really. Our music is more like a hard rock, southernish, 80s type music, so to speak. I wouldn't necessarily say we're a hair band, but
Right.
people that hear us say we sound like Aerosmith, Van Halen meets Leonard Skinner,
Mm.
Molly Hatchet, kind of a fun
Well,
party,
that's a hell of a mix.
type
Yeah.
of band. So when we first started out, in LA, to get out and get known, besides just going out and playing your little local bars, you want to try to get on some bigger shows, and you want to open for the people that you think that if for instance, when Molly Hatchet comes to town, you want that opening spot, because if people are going to dig Molly Hatchet, they're probably going to dig you. So if you get a chance to open that show, and there's 500 people that come to see Molly Hatchet that's never seen you or heard you, you have an opportunity to win over some new fans. So that's what we did immediately. We started going for every 80s band. We opened up for Cinderella. We opened up for Rat. We opened up for Michael Schenker. We opened up for Molly Hatchet, Marshall Tucker, anybody and everybody that would come through town. I was hustling trying to get those opening gigs, and it paid off, because we started building up quite a good following of people checking us out and all that. So it's I think it's just a work ethic. I mean, some bands are lazy; they're not willing to go out there and work for it and do what they got to do. So,
Yeah, definitely.
but it wasn't that hard for us. I mean, like I said, we had a plan and we knew what we wanted to do, and we went out and did it basically.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
another thing that really impressed me with your guys' sound and your guys' style is you do kind of have a classic rock sound, but you also have it's kind of like modernized in a way too. That I mean, just it just works, especially like on a song like "Faded Memories" for one. It has that classic rock sound, but it's also very catchy. Very that's like one of my favorite songs from you guys.
Oh, cool,
And
cool, cool.
yeah, I hear that, and it's just I don't know, man. It's cool. You guys got a cool sound, very cool
Thanks.
sound, and
Yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
all of our influences coming out. I mean, we all grew up listening to the same stuff, and I mean, you can hear our music, our influence come out of our music. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had somebody go, "Oh, that sounds like so and so," or "That sounds like so and so," and that's impressive to me, because I would rather them to say that than, "Oh, that sounds like shit."
yeah.
I'd rather go, "Oh, that sounds like Warrant," or "That sounds like Molly Hatchet," or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh man, it
I,
sounds like Stonebreed. That's what it
There
sounds
you go.
like.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I also like so the last song I heard before we started recording is a ballad that you guys did. I what's the name of for it? Oh shit, one more
Was it?
day.
Oh yes,
Okay,
very
yeah.
popular
Yeah.
song. That's a very popular song. Kind of like a song about, if you've lost somebody very important to you, how it would be super cool to just have one more day. If just somehow
Right.
you could have one more day to sit around and talk to somebody that you lost in your life. And that's kind of what the theme of the basis of the song is. But it's kind of ironic, because every time we play that, we have people come up to us, and I mean, I literally have people crying at our shows during that song, and they'll come up
Oh
and go,
wow.
"Oh yeah, it reminded me of my mom or my sister, or somebody that passed away." So it's I think it's cool,
Yeah.
because it brings out emotions in people, and when you can pull out emotions out of people, that's when you got something going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what music's all about in the end,
Right.
right? Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, I really like that song, and
Thank you.
I think you also achieved, as Dave was saying, you achieved a sound that's, at the same time modern, but it also has all the right stuff from the past to make it
Yeah.
like the right combination between past and past and present,
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like you've never heard the song, but there's a sense of familiarity about it,
right,
because
yeah.
it's the kind of
That's
music
perfect.
that you're used to listening to. So
Yeah, that's that you couldn't have said it any better. Um, it was just like when I listen to it, and it almost sometimes I get lost and I think, man, were these guys around 30 years ago, 20 years ago? Um,
No, we weren't.
but the way,
We
like I
were, but just all in different bands and stuff.
said, what were some of the earlier bands that you were with?
Well, before I moved to California, I was in another, fairly popular band down in Florida. We were originally called the Southern Baptist Bushhounds, and then
Oh.
it was just a play on the name. We weren't like a religious band or nothing. And then we
Yeah.
signed with a small record label, and they talked us into dropping the Southern Baptist and just call the band the Bushhounds. So I did that for a while. We did. It was more of a southern rock band. We did a lot of shows with like Artemis Powell from Leonard Skinner. We played like the Ice Palace in Tampa with Skinner and 38 Special and Molly Hatchet, and we did a lot of the shows down in like Tampa. They're big bike fest at Daytona, and we play like at the Guavaween and Gasparilla festivals and all that. And we put one album out called The Long Road, and it just nothing really happened, and we ended up breaking up, and I ended up moving out of there and coming out to California. And then I was in a band way back in the day in Austin, kind of where I got my start. I was in a band called Satire back in like the 80s, late 80s, 87, 88, 89, 90-ish, in Austin, Texas, playing all the back rooms and the sixth streets. And, I'm down there playing with all the bands like Dangerous Toys and all them guys before they all got famous.
Talk
So,
about Max Norman. There you go.
yeah, exactly. Max did Dangerous Toys as well.
hmm So when did you get to LA? When did you move to LA? What
Well,
year?
I've been out here about, uh, I don't even know, like 15 years now. I think since I've been out here again.
Oh,
And
so you weren't there for the whole
no, I wasn't out here.
strip days.
Yeah, I wasn't out here for the 80s, but I would come out here. I came out here and spent about a month one time at a hotel and kicked it around, tried to check some bands out, but it was just too hard for me. I ended up running back home to Austin, Texas, and then later in life I decided to come back out here and move back out here. So now I'm here, man.
Yeah, I have quite a few friends here I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and a few guys actually were out there who were in bands. Dave Bellinger, a friend of mine, was in Pretty Vacant, had that band going, and then my buddy Danny, he was in Legs Up. He was a guitar player in Legs Up, who were big on the LA scene, and that's another thing, man. Like they talk about it, man. Like just being in that whole moment, and some people just would go out there and they just kind of couldn't cut it, and it's got to be an amazing feeling when you're out there now. Do you go to the Rainbow and stuff? Do you like
I go
go
to
and
the Rainbow all the time.
take it all in?
Every time we play the whiskey, I go to the
You go
Rainbow.
to the Rainbow.
We just played back in the April. We played at the Rainbow's the backyard party. We played
Yeah,
down there
yeah,
with
you
like
did
Lita
that.
Ford and John Five and all those
Mhm.
bands. And we've done
Nice.
a couple of those backyard parties for the Rainbow and all that stuff. We played one year with Faster Pussycat and stuff like that. So yeah, the Rainbow is one of my very favorite places to hang. Every time I go to Hollywood, I like to stop in. They got great pizza. I'm not much of an alcohol drinker myself, and they make a killer chocolate shake there, man.
Hey, when I get to LA, man, I'm gonna have to look you up. You're gonna have to give me a tour.
Absolutely, bro.
It's definitely on my list of places to go.
Anytime you
I
come
don't know
out,
if
you let me
Sandy
know,
can join
man.
us.
I can show you. I can show you the Playboy Mansion. I can show you where Michael Jackson died. I can show you the apartment Motley Crue lived in. I can show you
Yes,
all that
that's what
shit. I
I
could be a
want to
tour
see
guide.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went I traveled to LA back in 2018, and I one night I decided to go to Rainbow. I was by myself, right? But I just wanted to have that experience. So I went to have dinner at the Rainbow, and I remember it being like a weird crowd. I was expecting all like biker dudes and stuff like that, but it was not just that. I mean, there were biker dudes, but there were also like rappers and dudes that just didn't have any vibes to them, like any sort of like theme to them. I don't know.
Right, right.
It was really weird.
It's a
But
very big mixture. I mean, like
yeah.
literally on a Friday or Saturday night, you'll walk in, there'll be some famous rock stars in there. I was in there on my birthday. Sebastian Bach was in there hanging out. Um, there'll be actors, actresses, there'll be sports figures. I mean, there'll be like, and then you'll have people that are like looking like like entertainment lawyers wearing suits and ties, and you got young kids that are just
Yeah.
fascinated. You got families walking through that are from like Missouri that have never been to the Rainbow and they're checking it out. So it's a crazy place sometimes. There's all kind of people going in and out of there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting for
can't
sure.
wait. I can't wait to get there and just to be in the place. I went back in 2001. Me and my ex-wife, we went to New York City and we got to go to CBGB's, and
Oh,
that place,
cool.
that place was like just walking in there and the history there. Um,
They still got that smell.
it did back then. Let me tell you, it
Yeah.
was bad. That place was a mess, dude. I felt like I had to go get a fucking tetanus shot when I left there because it
Right,
was.
right.
I mean, but it was great. Got to meet the owner Hilly and got a little tour from. We went there for a video shoot actually. A punk band from New Jersey called Bouncing Souls were shooting a video, and that's what we went for. And their
Cool.
bassist Brian kind of walked us around and showed us everything. It was cool, but it's just like, and I always thought, man, how great it would be to get to LA and to go to the whiskey, to the Rainbow. Obviously, Gazzari's is gone, and a lot of the other like places that everything's so different now. And
Yeah,
um,
they tore the Hollywood House of Blues down. That sucks. That was one of my favorite places to play, man.
Yeah.
yeah,
Viper
yeah,
Room's still there though.
yeah. How much does that change though?
Not really much. Still a little hole in the wall, man.
Ah,
Yeah, it's sad to see all these places go. So I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So
you're pretty far away. You're down in Argentina right now, right?
I'm pretty far away. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. So we used to have like this punk heavy metal joint called Cement, which it was a really appropriate name because it was like literally just a box, a cement, a concrete box that didn't have any sort of fire escape, no security like at all, just
Oh wow.
one door for the whole place. And yeah, I mean the LA Guns play there back in the 90s. A lot of bands play there, and I think Skid Row play there as well. And but yeah, it was a crazy place, man. It was just like all the walls were all with graffiti and trash it was just like a real punk place. and
Cool.
uh and yeah, I mean, a few years ago I went by and it's a fucking parking lot now.
Oh, that
and,
sucks, man.
yeah, but that happens. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon, like
Oh
all these
yeah, we
places.
we had a
Yeah.
we had a place here called Flashes. That was kind of like that's where I would go to see all the bands play, and my band played there back in way back, and now it's like a CVS or a Walgreens or something. It's like
Yeah, that
man,
sucks. Speaking of Gazzari's, it turned into the Key Club for a while. We did some shows there. It was really super cool to play there. But now, like, what is it? Beyonce and Jay-Z own it. It's called Oak One or something now. So it's just all like
uh,
One Oak. Yeah, so it's all like some rap music going down in there now.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. When I went to LA, I wanted to find Gazares, but yeah, I think I went past it like 3 times before I realized it was
Didn't know what it
that.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah, and
crazy. It's crazy.
Gazzari's was such a huge place for giving us Van Halen, Warrant. I mean, the
Oh
list
yeah.
goes on and on. I believe the Doors started there before the whiskey. I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
probably. Those two clubs are just iconic, man, for having
yeah,
so many bands, man. It's crazy.
Hmm.
yeah.
So,
It's
so did you take the band on tour outside of California?
Oh yeah, we have bunches of times. We go to Texas every year, basically until COVID hit. and we skipped a couple of years, but we go and do like 5 or 6 shows in Texas, and then we're always taking a little trips where we'll go from here and we'll go do like Vegas Thursday night, and then Friday night we'll go to Salt Lake City, and Saturday night we'll go up to like Boise, Idaho, or something like that. And we've done some runs where we go all the way across from like Salt Lake into Denver into Omaha, and then down to like Mississippi and stuff like that. Like I said, we're setting up 2 different um, tours, one in May and June, where we're going all the way across, to New York and back, and then we're setting up another one in Oklahoma where I'm trying to get through up to Detroit and Kentucky, and uh, that's going to be shooting through that Rocklahoma time through Oklahoma. So that's what we're working on.
Nice,
Love to see you
nice.
guys in Cleveland.
Yeah, we're definitely. I'm definitely trying to get some shows in the Ohio area on for sure.
Well, you do
You
that,
should.
I will be there.
All right, sounds like a plan, man. Bring a couple people.
I'll bring a nice group.
Yeah, you can fly me there, Dave.
There you go.
We got to get you to the United States, man. I got to hang out
But
with you. You're like my best friend, and one of my best friends. We've never even shook hands ever,
yeah, that's crazy. But yeah,
but we
we
are
gotta.
making great memories.
We are definitely, man. Yeah. So Carlos, you gotta get yourselves on those one of those Monsters of Rock cruises.
You know what? Every year we try. I mean, we I submit every year, but I mean, if if we didn't have a song in the '80s or we're not a tribute band, it's really hard to get on those things, man.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it really is. I mean, and I mean, we've played with every single band that's been on that thing. We have the same producers, we play the same clubs, we have, but it's just I don't know if it's politics or what. But every year I submit, and every year we get a thanks, but not this year. And so whatever, you know.
Your time will come. Your time will come.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Definitely.
about just renting a canoe and going down there with the band and kind of playing alongside the ship as they leave or something.
Yeah, the Monsters of Rock boat.
That'd
Yeah,
be
The
yeah,
great.
yeah.
sideshow. Yeah.
Pretty funny, man.
I think I vaguely remember, and this was kind of cool, and I'm not sure if my memory is all jacked up or whatever, because this would have been probably '89. I remember here in Cleveland, Bad English played a show, and I swear, like my memory swear, they were playing out on Lake Erie on a float, and the stage was basically out in the lake.
Oh wow,
Um,
I believe it.
yeah, I don't know. That's what I remember. Um,
We
but
played on a
nobody.
floating stage in Arizona once. There was like this boat dock, and they had I don't even know what it was. It looked like just like a boat. They built a stage on a boat dock, and we played on it, and it was floating, and there were people hanging out in their boats and pulling up on their jet skis and shit. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's exactly what I remember. So yeah, maybe it did happen then. Maybe I'm not
Yeah,
crazy.
That's awesome. Well, unless you got a boat, you're pretty much screwed.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well, you
uh,
can watch from the shoreline. I mean, they
there's
didn't
that.
like they weren't out in the they're not going to put you out in the middle of the friggin' thing.
No, no, we
There,
were right next to the club. Like docked next to the
Yeah,
club. Because
like
obviously
yep.
I had to run
there's
power and
a
shit. But
there's
it was
a
still
there's a
we were on this
famous
freaking floating thing. It was pretty crazy.
there's a famous Pink Floyd show, I think, right? The Live in Venice or something like that, where they play like in the middle of the water, like in Venice in Italy.
I don't know. I'm not aware of that one.
Yeah, I'd have to
Uh,
check
uh,
that out.
yeah, I think there's a DVD around of that show. Yeah. Um, so Carlos, what would you say are your influences when you guys started the band? What I mean, we
Well,
kind
I
of went
mean,
over this, but
me being a singer, I've always I've always been influences by the front men, like the David Lee Roth, the Steve Perry, the
yeah,
Steven Tyler. I mean, these guys that were like just true frontmen that not only front of the band and sang, but they were great entertainer types.
Mhm.
Um, and then as far as the musical influence, I started really young. Like I remember having 45 records of like Ballroom Blitz and Philadelphia Freedom by Elton John and stuff like that in my bedroom, and listening to all the AM songs of the 70s on my mom's station wagon radio as she would take me to school every day and night. So I would listen to all that kind of music, which is, a lot of the harmony and melody of songs. And then when rock and roll, basically came out, I remember seeing Kiss on the Midnight Special, and that was just that did it for me, man. The next day I was a rocker, man. My dad took me to see Aerosmith and Kiss in concert, and from there it was on, man. I was listening to all the, Bob Seger, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Van Halen, Steve Miller Band, everything that
Nice.
was late 70s, early 80s. And then when the hair bands started hitting big, Rat, Motley Crue, I was totally into all that shit too, man. So,
Yeah.
so I got some long list of influences, man.
Now, you mentioned Bob Seger. I think that's a really underrated guy.
Oh man, Bob Seger was one of the best. I'm
Yeah.
originally, well, I wouldn't say originally, but I spent a lot of time in Detroit growing up as a kid. My grandmother lived there, and I always go there. And I used to go to Cobo Hall all the time. I've seen Bob Seger there. I've seen Ted Nugent there. I've seen a whole bunch of bands there. But being from the Detroit area, he was really, really more popular in that area. So I was listening to him at a real early age before other people kind of were turned on to that dude. And I was always fascinated by what a live performer he was. He was just total badass.
Yeah, he was pretty popular here in Cleveland too. I mean, it was
Oh
like
yeah,
out
yeah. Well, the Midwest area, yeah.
just that Midwest area, and we used to have this thing here at Cleveland Brown Stadium back in the day called the World Series of Rock.
Oh, I've
And
heard of that.
yep, and Seeger headlined the same year. It was the first time Def Leppard came to Cleveland for the On Through the Night album. Def Leppard opened that World Series of Rock show with Seeger headlining, and
Nice.
that's like, man, you talk about history being made right there.
Yeah.
That
That's
reminds me of a show I saw one time. I went. It was in Davenport, Iowa, on this island called the Credit Island Jam. The first band to hit the stage was Van Halen. Their album had only been out for 2 weeks. Nobody knew who the fuck they were. Second band was Journey. Same
Oh
thing. It
wow.
was about the same time their album had just came out, and they were just kind of just getting like Wheel in the Sky was starting to play. And then the third band was Jay Giles' band, meaning Van Halen and Journey opened up for Jay Giles, and then the headline band was the Doobie Brothers. So that was kind of a weird, collaboration of bands thrown together. You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Sometimes you got
insane.
that
Yeah.
back in the day.
what's that?
Sometimes it was like that back in the day.
Oh
They would
yeah, yeah,
they would put
absolutely.
together all these, and you'd be surprised. I look back at some of the people Kiss took on tour with them, that you would be like, wow, really? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and so I mean, I guess just it's all rock and roll, I guess.
it
Well,
works.
yeah. Yeah, sure. Was it? We were talking when we were talking with Mick Suida from Bad Boys. He said that they went on tour with Bad English at some point, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Dave.
with bad English,
I
he
think so. Maybe it was
he
not
may have
Mick
mentioned
Suida,
that. Um,
or was it?
well, there was the damn Yankees and Bad Company tour that ran for a while there in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
That
Well,
was a
I
little
tell you,
bit of a
speaking of bad English, that's another big influence in my growing up was the babies that singer from
mhm.
Bad
Oh
English,
yeah,
John
John
Waite.
Wayne, yeah.
I mean,
John Wayne. Yeah.
his melodicness and his harm, his I guess it's the melodies that he created. A lot of my music, I like to write music with melody, stuff that you can sing along to, stuff that's memorable. I got
Yeah.
friends of mine bands, I love them to death, but they're screaming at you from the stage and they're trying to scare you and shit. You can't understand what they're saying. They got no harmony, man. And I'm
Yeah, I'm the
old
same.
school, so John Waite was another big influence on me growing up, and I used to listen to all the Babies albums and all that stuff.
Yeah, I am the same way. I like melody in my music, and I think you hit the nail there because those early '80s, like late '70s bands that kickstarted the whole like glam metal movement in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
They, they
definitely.
they they had this sense of melody while being still being with with big guitars, like I don't know, like well, Slade, for example,
Yeah, yeah,
the Hollywood Brats. There were a lot of cool bands that had that harder sound, but still have some sort of melody around their songs. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of John Wayne. Actually, his solo albums, while a lot poppier than his
yeah,
other
yeah.
stuff, they're still good. He has some good stuff there as well. The bad English albums are great. I mean, I'm a bad English apologist.
You know what? I wish we
Right,
would have
right.
gotten more albums out of them. I mean, they put out two great records, and that
Yeah.
was it. You know, I would
You
have
know,
loved some more.
another dude right up there as well is that guy Donnie V from Enough's Enough, man. That
Oh
guy's an
yeah,
incredible singer songwriter,
Yep.
man, with melody and harmonies and his stuff reminds me of the Beatles meets Cheap Tricks type of stuff, you know.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Donnie's incredible. I like Eric Martin as well from Mr. Big.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's very good at it too.
He
Just
has that style.
there's so
Yeah,
many great vocalists out there that can do that, and it's like man,
well,
we need more.
one of the first guests that we had on the show, and that this is before Dave joined the show, was Kyle Vincent from the band Candy. I don't know if you heard of them. Um, they were an early 80s LA band, and they had this bubblegum sort of hard rock style to them. And one of his big influences was uh, John it was John Wayne, but also Barry Manilow of all
Oh
guys,
yeah, yeah.
so, and Rick Springfield as well. So
That
he
sounds like a
mixed,
bubble rock
yeah,
band influence type of guys. They
right,
probably like
yeah,
Rick Springfield and Leaf Garrett too, huh?
yeah, Rick Springfield,
Hey, watch
raspberries,
what
all
you
the
say about
stuff,
Rick
yeah.
Springfield, man.
Oh, I like Rick Springfield, man.
Hey, he's the reason I love all you guys. So I'm just gonna say that
Yeah,
I don't think I'd listen to music if it hadn't been for Rick Springfield.
we have a Rick Springfield apologist here. Yeah.
Oh man, I've never shied away from that.
I like his stuff. I listen to all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I don't have that problem where people are like, no, I only listen to fucking Metallica.
I listen to everything, man. I used to be a DJ in strip clubs, so I would have to play shit that I didn't like. And it's weird because like there'd be stuff that I didn't really like, and then after having to play it so many times for these stupid dancer chicks, man, I end up liking it. I'd go home, I'd be humming to some song that I like. I fucking hate that song, but I'm humming that shit. you know? But
You know that
yes,
you can't honestly you can't really say you paid attention to what you were playing if you were DJing in a strip club.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm sure you were slightly distracted.
yeah. After a certain amount of hours, though, you got to kind of dial in once in a while.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I like to have a broad like musical spectrum. I don't
And you
get
do. I think you do.
one of my favorite bands, for example, is Dire Straits.
oh yeah, great band. Whoa, great band.
Yeah, the slide guitar that Mark Knopfler plays, it's insane. I mean, it's he transmits so much emotion with just a couple of notes, and it's amazing. I think it's an art to having the ability to convey such emotion with just a little slide guitar, and and that whole album, Brothers in Arms, has a song "Money for Nothing," all of that. It's one of the biggest albums of the '80s for sure.
Oh
At
yeah,
least in my mind, yeah.
huge MTV hits.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
Awesomeness.
Awesomeness all around. Um, All right, so Carlos, we always sadly I think we almost at the hour mark, so we gotta start wrapping this up. But and we kind of already went through this, but we always like to close up the episodes with a little top three favorite albums of all time. So albums you would take to a desert island, kind of thing. Um,
Get Your Wings by Aerosmith.
oh
My
yeah,
favorite album of all time.
nice. Yeah, I'm a
Probably
huge
sweet.
Aerosmith fan.
Probably Sweet, Desolation
Hmm.
Boulevard.
Nice.
Stars. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Stars.
I am, yeah.
Yep.
What I love that album, and basically probably Kiss Alive. Van Halen 1. I mean, Journey, um, Infinity album, Stonebreed
Nice.
1, 2, and 3.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It could probably change so much depending on the day, right?
Exactly. Well, that's what I do, man. During my day job, I ride around in my pickup truck all day, and I just listen to music all day long.
Yeah.
All different styles. And like
Yeah.
we were talking about, I'm in a rock band, and a lot of people think that I just listen to rock and roll. But when I come home and I'm chilling at night, and I just want to listen to music, man. I listen to shit like Firefall. I listen to the Eagles. I
Oh,
listen to
yeah.
Little River Band, stuff like that. Mellower uh, type of music sometimes. But then, when I'm ready to go out and rock and roll and party and have a good time, I'm blasting out some heavy metal on my radio. So I like to listen to different types of music depending on what's going down in my life at a certain time.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
definitely. Yeah, I am like that a lot. I mean, I love, for example, the other day I was just listening to Frank Sinatra all day, Tom Waits. That's my Frank Sinatra was my granddad's favorite music, and when I
Oh,
was
cool.
little, I went I every time I went to my grandfather's place, I always heard Sinatra in the background. So it's a way for me to connect with him, like uh, before he passed, it was always for me to connect with him. So I always like I and for him, I like jazz. Because of him, I like jazz music, and I also listen to a lot of '80s pop music. Yeah, if you would take a look at my vinyl collection, you would find a lot of things that are not just heavy metal or rock.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Speaking of heavy metal rock, and speaking of that sweatshirt you got on, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but a couple of years ago, Chris Holmes from Was played in Stonebreed for about a year. We did some
Oh
shows. He
wow.
was my roommate for about a year. Um,
Nice.
and Matter of fact, we opened for the Babies one time, but without John Waite, with the new guy, with Chris Holmes in the band. But yeah,
Yeah.
Chris was in Stonebreed for about a year before he moved to Europe, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and he was my roommate. We played like a whole year of shows with Chris in the band, so it was as actually a pretty damn cool experience. And a lot of people ask me if I have any regrets in the music business, and that's probably my biggest regret was not recording a song with Chris while I
Okay.
had him in my fucking house. You know what I mean? I never
Yeah, that would have been
got a
awesome.
chance to record a song with the dude, and I wish I would have done that. And so anyway,
Wow.
Yeah.
And
things to miss out on.
his documentary is excellent. The Mean Men
Yeah, I
documentary.
watched that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I hope health wise, man. I hope he's doing good. I
Yeah,
really
he's
do.
doing a lot better. I've been talking with his wife. He's not on social media ever, but his wife does all the
Yeah.
talking for him. But I always talk to her, and he's doing well.
Well, hey, tell him the Hollywood Dreams podcast, Dave and Santi send our well doings to him, and all right.
uh,
You got it, brother.
all right, Carlos. It's been a real pleasure having you here, man.
Yeah,
We
Man,
love
definitely.
thanks
talking
for
with you.
having me, guys. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, and thank you for taking the time to do this, stepping in at short notice and doing it on your wife's birthday, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll be Todd's stunt double anytime, man.
Yes. Sure. Send her our congratulations, our happy
Yes.
birthday wishes, and
He's actually
uh,
sitting right here listening, so she can actually hear you guys.
all
She's
Well,
sitting
right.
happy
next
So
to me.
birthday.
happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay,
Very cool.
you guys, we're gonna leave you guys to do your thing, and we'll hope to have you back, Carlos, when your new album is out.
Anytime, man. You got my number. You just call me, and I'll be there like Michael Jackson.
Awesome, man. Okay, take care. Have a good
Good
All right,
night.
Carlos.
man. Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
man.
Appreciate it, man.
All
Bye.
right, man. Later,
All right,
buddy.
see you.